All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most fundamental building blocks of all programming, variables. Seriously, this is the magic behind how the digital world remembers anything from what's in your online shopping cart to your high score in a game. Let's dive right in. So, have you ever really stopped to think about this? You click add to cart, you browse around for 10 more minutes, maybe you even close the tab and come back later, and somehow all your stuff is still there waiting for you. How on earth does a website do that? Well, the answer, believe it or not, is actually pretty simple. It all boils down to this one core idea. A tiny imaginary box tucked away inside the computer's memory, just waiting to hold a piece of information for us. And this data box has an official, fancy name, a variable. But honestly, the best way to think about it is exactly like a physical box. It's a container for your data, and most importantly, it has a label slapped on the outside. That label is how we find our stuff later. Okay, so theory is great and all, but how do we actually make one of these data boxes in JavaScript? Let's walk through it step by step. It's way easier than you might think. The very first step is called declaration. We use the special JavaScript keyword let, and then we give our box a name. So when we write let message, we're basically tapping the computer on the shoulder and saying, hey, can you set aside an empty box for me? And please label it message. That's it. The box is now ready and waiting. Next up, we need to actually put something inside our empty box. This is called assignment. We use the box's name followed by a single equal sign. Now in programming, that equal sign doesn't mean is equal to, it means put this value inside. So this line here, message equals hello, literally takes the text hello and drops it right into our box labeled message. And finally, what's the point of storing data if we can never get it back out? To see what's inside the box, all we have to do is use its name, its label. So alert message tells the browser, go find the box named message, open it up, and show me whatever's inside. And that's the whole cycle. Declare the box, put something in it, and then access it. Now, you'll find that programmers love to be efficient. So most of the time, you're going to see those first two steps combined into one clean, simple line. Writing let message equals hello does the exact same thing. It creates the box and puts the data inside all at once. Nice and tidy. Okay, so we've stored our hello, but what if we change our minds? What if we want the message to say something completely different later in our program? Is that data stuck in there forever? Not at all. And that's exactly why they're called variables, because their contents can vary, they can change. When you assign a new value, the old data is just gone. It gets completely kicked out and the new data takes its place. The box is the same, but the contents are brand new. Naming your data box is, super important, but you can't just call it whatever you want. JavaScript has a few simple rules you've got to play by. The rules are actually pretty straightforward. Your names can only have letters, numbers, dollar signs, and underscores. That's it. A really big one is that the name can't start with a number. The standard way to do it is called camel case, where the first word is all lowercase, and then every word after that starts with a capital. And remember this, because it gets everyone at first. Case matters. To JavaScript, a lowercase apple and an uppercase apple are two totally different boxes. Here's a quick look at that in practice. Over on the left, you've got perfectly valid names like username or dollar element. But on the right, you see the common mistakes. You can't use hyphens, you can't start with a number, and you can't use a word that's already reserved by the language itself, like the word let. So we've been talking all about these changeable boxes. But what about when you have a piece of information that you never ever want to change, like say your date of birth? For that, we have a special kind of box. It's called a constant, and we make one using the keyword const instead of let. You can think of this as a box where the second you put something inside and close the lid, it's permanently locked. You can look through a little window to see what's inside, but you can never, ever change it. And here's that difference in action. With our let variable, changing message from hi to bye is totally fine. But if you try to change the value of my birthday after you've set it with const, JavaScript will actually stop everything and give you an error. It's a fantastic safety feature to stop you from accidentally breaking your own code. Now, here's a little pro tip, a convention that pretty much every developer follows. For constants that hold values you already know before you even run the code, like a specific color code or a setting, it's a best practice to name them in all capital letters using underscores to separate words. That way, when anyone sees color_red in the code, they instantly know it's a hard-coded, unchanging value. We've covered the technical rules, the must-dos, but now we're going to get into what I think is the most important part, the art of choosing a good name. This right here is what separates messy beginner code from clean professional code. I absolutely love this quote because it's so true. A good variable name is like a tiny little comment that explains exactly what's going on. It's the main way you communicate the purpose of your code to other people. And, let's be honest, to your future self who's forgotten how it all works. So how do you do it well? Well, your name should tell a story. Call a variable username instead of just you or un. Steer clear of vague names like data or value. Data for what? And be consistent. If you decide to call something a user in one part of your code, don't suddenly start calling it a visitor somewhere else. That kind of clarity will save you so much time and so many headaches. And one last piece of professional advice, don't get lazy and try to reuse an old variable for a completely new purpose. It might seem clever, but it's just confusing. It's like storing your socks in a box you labeled hats. It makes no sense. Just create a new, clearly named variable. It's free, and it makes your code 1,000 times easier to understand. So, to wrap this all up, what have we learned? Variables are just labeled boxes for our data. Simple as that. We use let for the boxes we plan to change, and we use const for the ones we want to lock up tight. But above all else, remember that the label you put on that box, the name you choose, is your single most powerful tool for writing clean, beautiful, and understandable code. So I'm going to leave you with this thought to chew on. Every single variable you name is a choice. It's a reflection of how clearly you think and how much you care about the next person who reads your code. It's not just about making the computer understand. It's about making people understand. So what story are your variables going to tell? Thanks for joining me.